Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled "Neighbor Trespassed on My Property and Damaged My Roof Repeatedly While I Was Not Home." I recently got into a huge mess with my parents' neighbors because they keep trespassing onto my parents' property and damaging their roof. You see, the next door neighbor's house does not directly face my parents' house, but with the way the houses and neighborhood are laid out, one side of the neighbor's houses faces my parents' backyard. This side of the house is pretty huge. They also live in a pretty old neighborhood, so a lot of these houses need repairs or maintenance. Well, every year for the past couple of years, these neighbors go over to my parents' house and ask them if they are able to go into their backyard and climb on my parents' roof in order to do repairs to their house on that side. My parents have told the neighbors countless times that they are not allowed to come into their yard for any reason, let alone climb on their roof. I completely understand this, as I would not want people in my personal space either. Also, Ripe Stars, I'm not sure of this, but I think if you let people on your roof, especially dumb neighbors, if something happens to them, you might be liable. However, I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but it would somehow make sense. Anyway, I also did not understand why they would need to climb on my parents' roof in order to complete these repairs and whatnot, to do some work on the tall side of that wall, but if that were the case, they could also get a ladder. Either way, the point is my parents clearly told them no. At this point in the story, I would also like to add that when my parents first moved into the house, they had asked to go into my parents' backyard with a ladder so that it was easier to paint this side of the house. However, they did a lot more than just painting the outside of their house and ended up damaging a part of my parents' fence with their ladder. I wasn't aware of this when it first happened, but only after they started asking to go on my parents' roof. Well, the neighbors got tired of hearing no and decided to take matters into their own hands. One day, when my parents were coming home from completing some errands, they caught the neighbors in their backyard with a ladder. Although my parents did not see them, they assumed they were trying to climb on the roof with the way the ladder was posted against the house. The neighbors quickly grabbed everything they could and scampered off to their house after realizing my parents had caught them. My parents called the police, but because my parents don't speak English very well, I think the police did not understand what she was trying to tell them. Not only that, but the neighbors used the language barrier to their advantage and told the police that they were under the impression that they had permission to enter their yard. This of course did not help her case, but the police were not going to be much help regardless, because they had told my parents that they needed to seek legal help and file a civil case. I don't live with my parents, but they were terribly stressed out about this and I wanted to do my best to help them. So before they went to find an attorney or lawyer, I bought a set of high-quality security cameras and helped them set it up. I figured if the neighbors trespassed once, they would trespass again, and if we had evidence of this, it would help my parents out a lot. And my thought process worked, because just 2 days after installing the security camera, we got them on camera sneaking into the backyard when my parents were not home. Not only that, but they did it again the next day. So, with video evidence that proved they were trespassing on my parents' property several times, we sought the legal advice of a lawyer. My parents were able to get their message across because the lawyer's office had a translator. Not only that, but they were able to put it writing that they did not give permission for their neighbors to enter their yard. It took several months, but eventually the neighbors were charged with trespassing and had to pay a $1,000 fine for doing so. Not only that, but they also had to pay back my parents' money, because during their times trespassing when my parents were not home, they had damaged part of their roof. And yeah, Ripe Stars, one thing that I have learned from all these neighbor Reddit stories, it apparently really pays off if you have cameras around your property. Especially when you have shady neighbors that really enjoy coming on your property uninvited. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I'm curious, have you ever caught your neighbors trespassing on your property? If so, what did you do? Let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, I would very much appreciate it if you could also like the video, because that would help my channel tremendously. Thank you so much in advance for your awesome support, and now let's continue with the stories. The next one is titled "Neighbors Annoyed the Neighborhood and End Up Regretting It." So I live near a house that is constantly getting rented out to people. The one who rented it out this time around have been blasting music and partying into the late hours of the night. My town has a noise ordinance, but it only applies on weekdays, so the cops would not do anything when called. The neighbors proceeded to blast their music into the late hours of the night, which was very annoying since I had to go to work the following day. The next day I thought it was over since there was silence in the neighborhood once again. That was until about an hour ago when they started blasting music again. This is the moment where I said, "F this." I grabbed my guitar along with my most powerful amplifier. I hooked it up and waited until their music started. When it did, I countered with my own to give them a taste of their own medicine. Not too long after this, I could hear cars pulling out of their driveway. I listened closer and heard the guy who rented the house complaining to some other guy that some a-hole ruined their party. Boo-hoo! So sorry that you cannot keep getting away with disturbing the peace and pissing off the entire neighborhood. This is not the first time it happened, and most likely won't be the last. Long story short, I'm pretty pleased with this outcome and will be more than happy to do it again the next time they wanna be a nuisance. And yeah, ripe stars, I guess that is a classic case of fighting fire with fire. Sometimes it works, but more often than not, it does not really work all too well. The next one is titled, "Am I the a-hole for demanding payment for items ruined by a child I was supposed to supervise?" A few days ago, my neighbors, early 40s male and female, approached me and asked if I would be willing to watch their daughter, 11 or 12, called Ria, while they went to get vaccinated. I agreed. I made it clear to my neighbors that they would have to pick up her daughter before 1:30 p.m. As I had a court hearing, I could not miss the hearing under any circumstances. I'm a lawyer. They promised they would be back in time. At around 1:30 p.m. they informed me that they would be late. It was too late to make any alternate agreements, so I fixed Ria a quick lunch and told her to watch TV on Netflix, child mode enabled, so I finished up my hearing by around 3 and came out to see Ria. I found her in my bedroom trying on my heels, lipstick and other courtroom gear such as a black blazer and robe. The lipsticks were broken, the white shirts were stained and the heels were scuffed. I don't know how that girl managed to cause so much damage in the first place. I was angry, but I did not see it fit to reprimand her. Ria's parents finally showed up around 3:30 p.m. and took her home. I asked to have a word with any of them. Her father stayed back and I told him about the items she ruined and that I expected him to repay the amount for cleaning/replacement after I showed them the receipts. I expected him to apologize, but instead he blew up at me and accused me of leaving his young daughter alone and claimed that anything could have happened to her. He even threatened to file a case against me. I was taken aback. Firstly, I would not have left her unsupervised if him and his wife would have returned on time. Secondly, I don't feel that 11 is an age where she is in danger if I left her alone. I told him to try his luck in court and stated that if he doesn't agree, I would send them a demand notice for the aforementioned costs. Him and his wife have gotten the Residents Association involved, and while some of them are on my side, others are saying that I'm an a-hole for using the lawyer card over something so tiny. The total cost of items ruined is well over 10,000 rupees. And that, by the way, is around $135. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? And yeah, ripe stars, I would love to hear from you. Do you think that OP is the a-hole in the situation or not? Please let us know what you think in the comments. Anyway, edit, I'm sorry I left out this crucial detail. I never actually left my home. I was attending the hearing virtually and was in a different room in the same house. The door was closed but unlocked. I told Ria she could enter or call out my name if she needed anything. Update: this morning Ria's mother came to see me. She apologized for her daughter and her husband and said that they were late because Ria's father thought it would be a good idea to not complete the mandatory registration for a vaccine and simply tried to walk into a center. She was terrified at the idea of going to court and said she would try to get her husband to pay. She is a housewife, no independent income. I told her not to worry, I won't take the cost of the items and I would not send any notice. I also would not be watching their child again though. She understood and apologized once more. She bought some delicious food as well for me. She admitted that her husband spoils their daughter and she is also concerned, but she is silenced by her husband. A user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole. At 11 I was babysitting for brief times and earned money buzzing tables. I don't understand this child behaving like a toddler, but perhaps she is delayed or poorly parented. While it may not be great to leave such a kid alone, you set an expectation about your availability. The parents knew you were only available until 1:30, they are the ones who left their kid without adult supervision for 1.5 hours. Another user in the comments said, "Not the a-hole. First off, you made it clear to your neighbors that their daughter needed to be picked up by 1:30 because you had to work and they were 2 hours late. Next, the girl is 11. Age 11 is plenty old enough to know that you don't enter rooms without permission and you stay out of other people's stuff if you don't have permission to use it. I am bored is not an excuse for causing property damage, so no, you are not the a-hole. However, I doubt that the parents are actually going to pay for your things. It sounds like behavior like this is common for their daughter and they just dismiss it." The next one is titled Neighbor Garden Issues. So this happened about 2 years ago and I'm on mobile. I should also mention that I am tatted up and have weird hair and my neighbor is ultra religious and extra conservative. It's a beautiful fall day and I take the opportunity to do some gardening to get my plants ready for winter. I live in Zone 4B. For those who don't know about gardening zones, look it up, it's very interesting and informative. I realize my pruning shears are rusted shut because silly me left them out in the elements. So I go and grab a kitchen knife that I never use and start chopping away at my hostas. My neighbor, let's call her Mrs. Meanie, sees me working and decides to come and have a chat. She informs me that the knife I am using, a 12-inch thin kitchen knife, is very threatening and dangerous looking, and if I don't stop using it, she is going to call the police. I reassure her that I'm only using it to prune my plants. Miss Meanie decides that me chopping up dead hosta leaves equal terroristic threats and goes on and calls the cops. They show up, I explain the situation, they laugh and tell me that maybe to ease the tension I should probably get a new pruning tool. Enter malicious compliance. I go to the local hardware store and in the garden center find the biggest and baddest machete they can legally sell. It is 24 inches long and about 5 inches tall. Don't hate on my crappy measurement description, just envision a huge machete. I leave feeling confident that I won't anger anyone anymore. So I start chopping away with my new garden friend and Miss Meanie is appalled at what she is seeing. A massacre of dead growth and tree limbs lay at my feet. She yells from her window in a scared voice, "You're going to jail!" before she calls the cops. Again, the cops show up and the same officer arrives laughing even harder than before. He says I am technically using a garden tool and no threat can be found. She moved out shortly after and now I can use my baby, I call her Machete, whenever I need and don't have to deal with the cops. Edit: the neighbor in question was in her late 50s and I don't believe her behavior was due to mental illness. And by the way, I am in the US. I used to do her mowing and snow blowing for free until she demanded that I do more gardening also for free. When I quoted her a price, she was outraged and insulted me, and that was that. The cops did try to talk to her, but she refused to answer the door. She calls the cops on people all the time, so they kind of know her. And the last one is from the subreddit called Anti-Work, and once again, if you enjoy this story, then I might read some more stories of the subreddit in the future, so please let me know in the comments what you think about this one. Anyway, the story is titled, "My 5-year getting paid for doing nothing is over, I am heartbroken." I got a night shift job doing data entry back in 2015. I quit and needed something fast at night while I looked for something better during the day. It was a data entry position, meaning I get an email containing the details of an order and proceeding to input the information into our system. Right after my training, I knew this is something AutoHotkey can do. I don't know how to code that well, so I went to a freelancer website to hire a guy to develop the code. It cost me a 2-month salary. I just had to input how many orders I want to process per hour. Since day one I was working from home because the company did not want to pay for transport or cleaning during the graveyard shift. For the first 2 years I would check if there was something the code cannot do, usually took me less than 5 minutes, and then I would let the computer running and watch movies, go to bed, sometimes I would even go out. And then I added those functions to the code as well. I was doing such a remarkable job, I was offered promotions a few times, new positions during the daytime that I would reject, stating that I'm a very introverted person that enjoys this type of position. Eventually, I got another job, better paid, but there was no reason for me to quit where I was working. For my data entry job, I could spend months without having anybody reach out to me. Sometimes some coworkers will try to match my order entry quota, which would make me open the code and change an 8 to 9 to increase my production and keep myself on top. I would change the numbers regularly just in case, but nobody even noticed. I even got 2 salary raises at some point for never missing a day and being the top producer in my 3-people department, to which I corresponded by changing the 9 and switching it to an 11 or a 10 on some days. My end. It took them 4 years to develop new software that will replace my data entry position. Since clients were granted access to our new system, a few weeks ago I got my severance check. I was told I could keep the laptop and office equipment and that I am welcome to apply for any position I want. I never talked about that with anybody in real life, not even my family. Even my wife was not sure what my job was about with that other company. Now that it is over, there you go, my darkest work secret. I did try to schedule a demonstration of my code. I think that was back in 2017. The regional manager told me they are very busy dealing with the important stuff, just to keep doing the good work I was doing, which I did until the day I was let go. And the next one is titled, I made my neighbor late for work. I posted this on Am I the A-hole and someone suggested I should post it here too. I should add that I know what she is doing is not against the law, but it is rude and annoying. Another thing a lot of people tried to say was, it is illegal to block driveways. I know this, I blocked my own driveway. That is not illegal where I live, but blocking someone else is. Another thing I had to cut out of the Am I the A-hole post because of the character limit was that my dad is disabled and she knows this and still continues to park like a jackass. We have talked to her about how hard she makes my dad's life, and so has her landlord M, but she continues to do it. I, 22 female, live at home. We have a neighbor, M, who is renting out the rooms in his house to K. Has been living in the room now for about a year. She has 3 cars for no reason, 2 are Camrys and the other is a Sentra. Before she moved in, my sister and I would always park in front of our house. My dad made it a point that we were to only park in front of our house because 1, he thinks it is rude to park in front of neighbors' houses because it is the front of their property, and number 2, we have security cameras that are only pointed at our property, so if something were to happen to our cars, it would be on camera. Now that Kay lives there, she parks 1 car in the driveway, another in the middle of the street in front of M's house, and the other Camry in front of our house. There is no room for another car anywhere. The street that can fit maybe 4, maybe 5 cars now only has 2 cars on it. My sister and or I don't have anywhere to park, so we have to go to the neighborhood over to park. A while ago my dad put the trash cans in front of our house as per usual, and when I was coming home from work I got stuck behind the trash pick-upper guy and he passed our house. I noticed that the trash can was up on the curb and Kay was parked where the trash cans were supposed to be. They are usually on the street, and once it is emptied, Dad takes it to the house. The trash was full. Kay moved our trash cans to park in front of our house. I ran the trash can to another block to see if the trash guy would still take it. Another neighbor, B, saw me doing this and helped. B helped me bring them back, told my dad what happened, and then Dad went over to K and told her never to touch the trash cans again and to stop parking in front of our house. He explained why, cameras, my daughters cannot park, etc. It is now December and it has not stopped. My dad called M and asked him to talk to K. We heard M yelling at K, but it still has not changed anything. A few days ago, she parked the Camry in front of our house and took the Sentra out. When I got home, I decided to park in front of her, blocking my parents' driveway and leaving no room for her to get out from the front. My sister got home and I had her park behind K's Camry and left her no room behind either. The next morning I was getting ready with the window open and Kay asked me to move one of the cars so she can leave and that she was running late. I told her that I was taking a shower and she would have to wait. It is not my fault that she is running late, and if this was such a problem, she should stop taking up so much space with two little cars. She struggled for 20 minutes but did end up getting out. Since then, I've been doing this daily and my family and other neighbors like B help by telling me how close to get. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.